Hey guys, what's up? I'm here with a review of a psychological erotic exploitation horror film from 2013, and tonight's movie is Nurse 3D. This movie I've heard about. I heard about this like a few years ago, and it looked like it could probably be kind of entertaining. So I decided to watch it, and I really was just like, oh, I'm probably not going to end up reviewing this movie. Well, turns out I am. This movie is... The guy that directed this movie, before I even get into talking about the movie itself, the guy that directed this movie was the assistant director, or, the co-director for films like Puppet Master 4, Puppet Master 5, Tales from the Hood, 4 Rooms, From Dusk Till Dawn, The Faculty, Austin Powers, The International Man of Mystery, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Spy Kids, Resident Evil and Resident Evil Extinction. So this guy knows at least a little bit how to direct, or he knows good films at least. Where did he go wrong? This movie has to do with a psychopathic nurse who is also a serial killer. A psychopathic serial killing nurse who becomes obsessed with this new nurse at the hospital and just kind of bothers her and ends up killing people for her. Yeah. Where to start with this one? I should probably start with the fact, with saying something that's probably gonna be probably the most true and most untrue thing about this movie ever. This is both probably the most anti-feminist and the most pro-feminist film I've probably ever seen. Allow me to explain. This film, I'm gonna compare it to Lars von Trier's fucking Nymphomaniac, which was terrible. That film was filled with sex, and while there was context for all this sexual content and nudity, it still was very unneeded. It didn't need to be there. The sexual content in this film is the same way. There's no real context for it. There's no reason for it to be there. It's just there to be there. That's right. And you know what? I liked this film more than I liked Nymphomaniac. And it's just equally as like, hey guys, look, we're being sexually explicit. You know, trying to be controversial. So, there's that. There's the fact that the main character / murderer, Abigail Russell, she goes after men who are cheating on their wives, so that's like another thing that could add to like the pro-feminist thing. She's just like so against, like it seems like she hates men, because she even claims that she's addicted to men, not in the sense that like she's a sex addict, but in the sense that she's addicted to killing men. I mean, throughout the entire movie, she only kills like, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 women, and the rest of her victims are men. It's just really weird, honestly. So, gotta talk about this. I gotta keep talking about this. The acting in this movie is absolutely dreadful. Now, you guys know I do not mind bad acting, writing, or anything like that, as long as it makes the film more entertaining. In this case, it kind of does, but it kind of doesn't. The main character, you know, she's supposed to be like really sexy and stuff, and I'm just like, I mean, yeah, she's got a nice body, but her face is kind of, and I mean, she's wearing so much like fucking lipstick in this movie. Like, she's wearing makeup on all of her face except for her eyes, which really throws me off. And it's just like, she's still kind of not good looking. You know, I just didn't find her face, you know, I didn't find her attractive. Like, she has a nice body, it's just her face kind of throws me off. So, there's that. And the fact that she is trying to be really sexy, so she talks like with a mouth. It's like the way she talks, she really puts a lot of breath into everything she says, making it seem like she's just constantly like, oh, I'm trying talking while she's breathing out. Like, everything is really airy and full of breath, and she's trying way too hard to be sexy. Her character is like just almost constantly either fully or partially naked. I've noticed this. Like, there's quite literally a scene where she wakes up in the morning and she goes to make coffee, and she has the other character, I can't even remember the new nurse's name, but she has the new nurse over, and they had a wild night, and she had drugged the new nurse and had sex with her. And she gets up in the morning, puts on just a bra, and goes and makes coffee. Like, walking around an apartment in just a bra, just fucking just standing there bottomless. And I mean, again, I'm a guy. Sure, that's kind of attractive, I guess. But it doesn't make sense within the context of the film. Oh my gosh. Her being naked, or being partially naked so much in the movie, just ruins this movie for me. I mean, I guess they were trying to be like, oh guys, like, hey guys, look, this movie has nudity and it's gonna be put on Netflix in a year or two. You might want to watch out for it. And man, like, this film was just so bad. The acting all around is pretty bad. This movie also has Corbin Bleu in it. If you don't know who he is, he was in High School Musical. He was in the 3 High School Musical movies. He was in the other Disney movie, Jump In. He was in the anthology film Scary or Die. So he's a pretty decent actor, and he gives a kind of okay performance here. But overall, the acting in this movie is really bad. The writing is also really bad, and again, this movie is written and directed by a guy who has worked on, or at least been on the set of films that he's been like the co-director or assistant director of films that are very, very, very good, and yet he doesn't know how to direct. I mean, I don't know how much the assistant director puts into a film, honestly, but I assume they at least put a little bit of input into the film, you know? Let's see. Characters. Characters here are just like, they try to make them really deep and complex, but they just fail ultimately. I read in a review, like, this movie is pure just trash. And if you like this movie, good for you. If you don't, good for you. And if you try to say otherwise, you're wrong. And that is 100% true. This movie is trash. It is badly written, badly acted. The characters are so flat and wooden, you could get splinters off of them. They're so shallow that you could that you could compile all the characters into a pool and stand in it, and your toes wouldn't get wet. That is how bad these characters are. The effects in this movie, oh my god, the fucking effects. They decided, oh, let's go the cheap route and use a lot of CGI gore and blood. And for some reason, this CGI blood seems to ignore clothing, because when our serial killer is cutting off a man's arm with a bone saw, and blood is flying everywhere, it's not getting on her face, her arms, her legs, it's spraying right on her, and it's not getting on her and again, she's only wearing a bra in this scene as well. It's not getting on her bra, it's not getting on her at all, and it's just flying everywhere. The only place it's really getting is on the guy's arm and the table that he's strapped to. So yeah, it seems like in this film, when someone gets even the slightest paper cut, they explode with really bad looking CGI blood. The CGI blood is probably the worst thing about this movie, but it's also the best thing because it's just so terrible. The camera work here is decent, lighting is decent. There are times when the lighting becomes a little more stylized, and I kind of dig it. The fact that this movie was in 3D when it was originally released really bothers me, because the 3D aspects of this movie do not really come into play. Like, it does that thing, it does what Friday the 13th 3 did, in the sense that they just kind of like, oh, let's just you know, it seems like they completely forgot that this movie was going to be in 3D until a couple scenes, and then they just threw some like CGI medical equipment at you, and that's really all you get. I mean, it is quite possibly the B-movie equivalent of something like fucking Nymphomaniac. It's that terrible. It's not really worth watching, even though I'm gonna go ahead and give it a somewhat positive, you know, overall review. This movie is absolutely fucking dreadful, and if you can sit through this movie without cringing or laughing or getting even a little bit annoyed by it, because honestly, now the main character to me feels very annoying, and the fact that there's a sequel planned for this movie makes me a little bit scared, but also a little bit excited, because maybe they could fix things about it. Overall, on the gore meter from 1 to 10, 1 being something like The Corpse, not The Corpse Grinders, Nosferatu, and 10 being something like Brain Dead, Nurse 3D is probably a 5, giving it a 5. It is not that gory. It's really not. I mean, it kind of feels like the director was trying to take American Mary, like just take the main character Mary from American Mary and put her in this film as a nurse, when in American Mary she was a surgeon, or at least a surgeon in training. So she had more experience with this stuff. And in this one, she's a nurse, but it seems like she has more medical expertise than just a nurse. Than just like a nursing, than just like an RN or an LPN. God. This movie is just terrible. And I mean, frickin' Samantha Isabel from American Mary is far more attractive than the main character in Nurse 3D. And they weren't even trying to make her like extremely attractive, and okay, maybe they were a little bit, but they weren't trying to make her like over the top attractive and constantly having her naked or half naked in every other scene like they were in Nurse 3D, and that character is less attractive than this character. God damn, this movie is bad. Overall, I can't say I necessarily hated it. I kind of liked it, and I'd probably have to give it a 2 out of 5, maybe 3, maybe 2.5. I think about a 2.5 is probably about where I will sit it. 2.5 out of 5. I mean, I can't say I'd pay for it. I mean, if I find it at like an FYE or whatever for like maybe $5, I might buy it just to, you know, throw it in the collection, but I wouldn't buy it, you know, for more than $5. Luckily, this thing's on Netflix, so if you're interested, you can watch it on there. And I think I'm gonna go watch a horror movie that's actually, you know, good. So anyway, guys, if you liked the video, like my channel, be sure to like this video, favorite it, whatever you want, and maybe subscribe perhaps. I would really, really appreciate that. And check the links in the description below. There are links to things like my Tumblr, Twitter, all that, Facebook. All that is in the description below, as well as Rotten Cotton t-shirts, where I get my horror film t-shirts like this I Drink Your Blood t-shirt I'm wearing right now. This is available on their site for like $15. It's a pretty good deal if you buy like 6 or 7 shirts, and you get it. And if they're like under $20, you can buy them all together as a package, and you get it for like $70. And it's a really, really good deal. It's where I get my horror film t-shirts. And be sure to check out my friend Chloe, her cosplay and makeup tutorial channel. It is in the description. She always does something really interesting, really cool. And I guess that's it. I'm signing off. You guys have a good day, good night, good whatever. Peace.